Thank you for your time, and now I'm happy to answer some questions.
Oh, well, Tim Marshall from Sky, good morning, and condolences on your loss. I spoke to your mother just after the Karachi bombing. She told me she knew this day might come. Everybody prayed it wouldn't. What did she say to you to prepare you for this day?
Well, first of all, thank you for your condolences. We had discussed about how once I'd finished my studies, I would come back to Pakistan and aid her in campaigning, etc. But we did hope that this day would not come as soon as it did.
Yes, Ahmed.
Diane Kirka, Associated Press. Well, what's your vision for Pakistan, and how do you see, balancing, strengthening ties with the United States at the same time, keeping Muslims, keeping relations good with Muslims?
Well, I believe that the problem is that dictatorships feed extremism, and once the United States stops supporting dictators, we can successfully tackle the extremist problem as well.
Bilawal, information might be being used. Both your grandfather and your mother have died pursuing politics in Pakistan. Has that in any way put you off following the same path?
No, it has not put me off.
Anyways, the Netherlands. Your mother always preached the principles of democracy. Wouldn't it be very democratic to have party elections to elect a new leader instead of an appointment by a central committee?
The central committee always decides the leadership of the party.
But wouldn't it be very democratic to have such an election? Wouldn't that show to the world that you do preach the principles of democracy?
This is how our party decides its leadership.
Are you convinced that you will want to go forward after Oxford and lead the party, or is it a decision that you leave open, that you might in fact change your mind about a political career? And do you think it's inevitable that it must always be a Bhutto who leads the Pakistan People's Party? And as the previous questioner asked, is dynasty really consistent with democracy?
Okay, wow. Can we take that one at a time, please?
Yeah. First of all, your ambitions after Oxford, presumably you cannot yet know whether after your studies you will actually want to pursue a political career.
Well, yes, at the moment I do intend to, but the situation may change later on. At the moment, my priority is studies.
And beyond Oxford, I asked a question about whether dynasty and the fact that the Pakistan People's Party apparently needs to be led by a Bhutto is consistent with democracy.
You know, there's a Pakistani slogan that says, "How many Bhuttos can you kill? From every house a Bhutto will come."
Follow-up question from German television. Would you finish your studies and continue at Oxford even if your party should happen to win the elections in February? Or will you return if the call to come back overwhelming?
I fully intend to complete my studies first.
Nick Robertson from CNN. Given the unfortunate and untimely death of your mother, how does this change you?
Well, it's made me more resilient, and I feel I really want to see democracy in Pakistan now, because we've lost our best hope, but we haven't lost our only hope. Jeremy.
Mr. to the BBC. Bilawal. Well, having been speaking to your cousin, Zulfikar Jr., who is 17, I understand, and do you see your role as also uniting the Bhutto family? Because from our reports, the family is not united, and who should carry on the Bhutto legacy? And it hasn't been clear to us. There was much talk of this will in your mother's handwriting, which seems to have only mentioned your father, Asif Ali Zardari. Did she anywhere write down what she saw as your future role?
As far as my cousins are concerned, I love my cousins. My mother never commented in public against them, and I would love to reunite the family. But while my mother was alive, they did not support her political ideology. And while the family can come united, I am unaware whether we can unify the two separate parties. In her will, she did not specifically mention me. That is true. She mentioned my father. But at the time of crisis, we saw what was necessary and saw what we had to do.
Jeremy
What on earth do you propose as a 19-year-old who's hardly lived in the country? What do you propose you can offer Pakistan, a country of 170 million people? How can you claim to have any aspiration to leave it?
I do not claim to have any sort of aspiration. I was called and I stepped up and did what I was asked to do. It's true I haven't lived there, but I've been raised by my mother. I was completely and utterly involved in everything she did. She informed me about everything, and I hope that someday, if I am called again, I will read.
But what does it say about a party that it can be handed on like some piece of family furniture?
Well, it wasn't handed on like some piece of family furniture. They asked me to do it, and I did. Everybody, they represented the whole federation, all 4 provinces, and Azad Kashmir, and they asked me to do this.
Wouldn't it have been wiser just to wait until you know a little more?
It was a moment of crisis. Pakistan was burning. We needed to show a united front, and we needed to quell the violence.
Can we move on? Any further questions?
Islam Hussain, Don Karachi. According to the constitution in Pakistan, an office bearer must be qualified to run for parliament, and that needs the age of 25 years. I mean, how do you reconcile this constitutional provision and the present arrangement?
I leave it up to the party to deal with these matters. I'm not sure. I'm here to study. I'll go back when I'm of age to take my role.
You say you haven't been put off by your mother or your grandfather's death.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Jonathan Ruggles from California. You say you haven't been put off by your mother or your grandfather's death. Are you honestly saying you don't view this job that you have, this role, as a poison chalice, that you don't view it that way?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Are you honestly saying that you don't view the job that you now have as a poison chalice, given your mother's death and your grandfather's death?
I understand that there are risks, but at the same time, it has to be done.
Question down there.
Bilawal, Pete Norman's People magazine. What are your own fears for the future?
I fear for my country. I fear that if free and fair elections are not held, it may disintegrate.
Do you fear for your own life?
I fear more for my privacy.
I'm going to take the last sort of 2 or 3 questions there.
How do you see blending these 2 roles that you now have? How do you see blending these 2 roles that you now have at the age of 19? Oxford student and leader of a major political party that, as you said, is in crisis in a country which is trying to manage a very difficult transition.
The running of the party will be left to the co-chairman and vice-chairman. At the moment, I'm only concentrating on my studies.
Can we go right to the back, please?
Dr. Visaka from IANS News Agency. As a young Pakistani leader, how do you see relations with India, given the history of the
I believe that Pakistan should be able to have peaceful coexistence with all its neighbours.
One minute.
From the Times. There's no security here today, other than the room being too small. Are you giving any thought to protect yourself?
I can't comment on any security arrangements that we've made.
Honestly, it's not zero. Don't you think that critics say that you have a slightly contemptuous attitude towards the Pakistani posters through the way in which the Bhutto family is seen as running politics like a family business? Isn't that a criticism legitimate?
Look, if they don't want to vote for the Bhuttos, they won't vote for us in the polls.
I think we're going to take the last 2 questions there.
Do you think the unpopularity of your father will damage the image?
Could you speak up, please?
So do you think the unpopularity of your father will damage the image of
No, I do not. I believe that the supporters of our party fully support my father. They appreciate that he spent 11.5 years in prison, despite the fact that none of the cases against him have been proven. So I don't think it'll damage the party.
And last question, yes.
Yeah, Ashley Webster, Fox Business News. How can you relate to the struggles of the Pakistani people when you've never lived there? I know this has been asked before, but I have a hard time understanding how you can relate to the people.
It was not my choice to live outside Pakistan. It was made impossible when my mum was sent into exile. I cannot pretend to relate in the same way as people living there, but I am fully aware of what is happening.
That concludes the press conference. Thank you for coming, and if I could reiterate the family's request that Bilawal's privacy is respected.